Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone. So my name is Ibnu Annas with my student ID 2322016 and today I'm doing my final term text about the material here is about the classroom management with the part 1 and part 2 in this presentation that I'll be presented to you. So let's head to the introduction first. For the first part one is explain the topic below. For the first number one, teaching tolerance. Number two, helping student handle anger, frustration, and aggression. And the last is disruptive behavior. And also in the second part, we're solving the real world problems. Like problem number one, Miss Johnson faced Alex aggressive behavior. And number two, several of Miss Smith's students are exhibiting off-task behavior during her class. And the last is Miss Brown's student named Jack often exhibit a destructive behavior. So if the students want to feel more safe when they are in a class or something, respected and focused during the lesson, the teacher should explore the practical ways to keep them from the room of the positive and the productive. So let's head into the part one first. The first is teaching tolerance. So as explained in here, in order to shore up the conflicts and break down people based on the mutual respect and understanding, tolerance in education is essential. Personal respect, family, social, political, cultural, and religious levels are required. ISO et al. 2016. It shows that and it explained to us that tolerant classrooms have a fewer conflicts and a higher engagement. So how do we strategize? How do we to teach the tolerance? It's easy to remember that the first one is to provide the option for learning activities such as give the student a small option, picking a book, picking a hot topic, or maybe help students to feel safe. And the second one is to use open-ended question that allow for a variety of response, such as use open-ended question. So like you ask the student, what do you think about this material? What do you guys talk about this? Invite many kind of answers and showing there's more plenty than one right away. The third is invite student to share their interests. So you ask the student to present something unique, a traditional snack, like a traditional snack, a favorite song, and their family photo. And last is give a positive example of diversity. A highlight diversity in daily comments is like say such thing, everyone has their own way when praising their own work. So like give the positive attitude to your students. And for short example, a student shares a hijab as part of her identity, and her classmate, learn it as a symbolist faith, not an operation. So experience that it's a faith, not expression, but respect grows and stereotypes stay. The number two is helping students handle their anger, frustration, and aggression. Like explained below by Awalia et al. 2019, anger is an emotional phenomenon, emotional reaction, and it possesses the characteristic of sympathetic nerve activity. So, between anger, frustration, and aggression, they frequently link to, like frustration is state that of disappointment when expectations are not met the goal. So, aggression behavior meant to harm or control, and frequently as a manifestation of rage and frustration too. And this is kind of simple things, simple tools that we can handle the students' anger, frustration, and aggression through the teach emotional vocabulary like annoyed, worried, or overwhelmed, so kids can label that feeling accurately. The second one is a role play conflict resolution. It's like an act out of a disagreement, but then you can pause it and ask the student, what calm words, what things that could be used instead? That's it. And the last is a cool down corner. Quick example, like when a quiet spot with stress balls, coloring sheets, or breathing cards, so the student can go there before emotion get exploded. And his sample below is that Lisa, 10 years old, lose a game in her group. She kick her dash, she screams, and start an aggression. But the teacher guide her to cool down, to do a strategy cool down corner. She squeezed a stress ball names like, I'm frustrated, but I'm ready to return to my group. And the last of the part one is disruptive behavior. According to Mangarin et al. 2024, academic progress and provide a positive learning environment. Disruptive behavior in the classroom must be resolved. It means that disruptive behaviors is some of a serious conflict that need to be resolved fast. But this kind of action can disrupt the teaching process, like students' concentration and negatively impact the others. So people's learning and experience, especially when they are properly controlled. And so how do we solve it? And how do the strategy to control this disruptive behavior? The first one, set real rules. Set a clear rules that like no phone during the class, respect each other, no talk when you raise your hand, and just one sound. And the second is involve student in problem solution. Problem solving resolution, like praise her or points on a text behavior. And the last is use positive reinforcement. What is positive reinforcement? It's like you involve your students to ask them like, how can we make a lesson much more smoother, much easier to understand the material? And so they will interest their lesson even easier. And for the quick example here that when some students are keep talking during the lesson, the teacher reminded them to follow the rule of the class, praise them who stayed focused, and talk privately with the one who disrupt the class. And as a result, the classroom will become more ordered and even more controlled, easy to control. That's is the end of the part one. So let's head to the next part. The part two is solving three kinds of problems, solving a real world problem, real life problem. With the first one, Miss Jones face aggressive behavior. Problem two, several of Miss Smith are exhibiting off-text behavior. And the last is Miss Brown, student named Jade, often exhibit their disruptive behavior. Let's head to the first problem. Miss Johnson faced Alex aggressive behavior. Like we'll consider this in this text. So in short, the little scenario is Miss Johnson, fifth grade. Alex is often loud, back talking during the class, even pushing the others. As attempts, he aggressive the rules, praise, and private chats haven't worked to Alex. So how do we Miss Johnson can face Alex's behavior? With the question of the text is what classroom management technique can Miss Johnson implement to address Alex's aggressive behavior? So I'm gonna provide at least three specific strategies that can Miss Johnson do and explain how each one could help improve the situation. The first strategy, teach a positive ways to express the emotion, like helping Alex to express his anger or even the frustration during the class through his storytelling or maybe a short sharing session, open-ended question also. So this also helps him out to express his feeling without hurting each other. And the second is be a positive role model. Miss Johnson should stay calm during the class, during the conflict, and praise Alex when he behaves well, even just a little. So Alex will learn how to copying a positive behavior through Miss Johnson positive role models. And the last is talk with Alex privately. You need Miss Johnson have to one-on-one talk with Alex so Miss Johnson can understand why Alex acts out and find a solution together. And so on, Alex feels hurt and feel hurt and maybe more willing to change his behavior. So that's the first problem. So let's head to the second problem. Several of misfit students are exhibiting off-text behavior during the class. In short, Miss Smith's seventh grade math teacher, several of her students is daydreaming, playing with her phone, scroll phone, chatting, or maybe harming during the class. So what kind of strategies that Miss Smith can do that can Miss Smith use to increase on text behavior and decrease the off text behavior? So I'm going to provide at least three specific strategies and explain how it can resolve Miss Smith problem. So the first one is give a learning choices, like offer them a two text formats like traditional worksheet or maybe an online quiz. Same content, but a different medium engagement rise. So it can make them more interested and more involved during the class. And the second is set a clear rules and reminder also. Discuss the class rule that being made in the beginning of the class, and so that they will know what is expected and behave the matters. For instance, no phone, eyes on the text, and X if they're stuck during the material. And number three is walk around and stay close to each other. Move around the room and stand near to the student who are disruptive behavior during the class. So this can help them to feel focused back without saying much word. That's that is the problem number two. And so let's head it to the problem number three. Miss Brown's student named Jack often exhibit a disruptive behavior. So the scenario here, in short, Miss Brown, a grade English named Jack, talks out of the turn, like talking during the class, jokes inappropriately, distract their classmate, even warnings and seat move doesn't help it. So what kind of specific strategies can Miss Brown do to manage Jack's disruptive behavior? Same like the problem number one and number two, I have provided at least three and explained how my answer could help Miss Brown to resolve this issue. So the first solution, my kind of answer is a quiet action instead of calling it out. Like for example, you move closer to Jax or change his seat without stopping the lesson in it. So it can reduce the disruption without making any sense. Like instead of schooling out loud, Miss Brown can step to Jack's seat, take closer to Jack's, and use and reduce the disruption of Jack without making any sense. And the second is make a class behavior agreement. It's like kind of create a simple contract between Miss Brown and Jack about the class rule and have a student to sign it. So it will remind Jack that what is expected during the class. And number three is encourage respect and understanding between each other, between Jack and other student and even Miss Brown herself. So like talk about how everyone is different and it's fine. It's okay. It's not a problem, not a big problem. So Jake may feel more accepted and act out less, including Jake. So that is the last of my presentation about the problem number one, number two, number three. I've provided at least three kind of solution and explained how it can resolve the each of the problem. So here comes my reference. Result at all 2016, the impact of teaching tolerance on student in Canadian schools. Awalia et al. 2019, the effectiveness of sociodrama to improve students' anger management skills. The third one is Coleman D, 1995, Emotional Intelligence, Mangarim et al. 2024, Strategies in Managing Disruptive Behavior. And the last but not least, to resolve the problem in a part 2, PS is slide, meeting 9, 11, and 13. So I think that's all for my presentation. To sum it up, my short conclusion is that teaching tolerance led us to value every learner, even the student itself. So with a healthy emotional skills, even the teacher itself can turn an anger into some growth. With a clear and supportive engagement to students can keep the class during the track. So this kind of three pillar with a targeting solution for Alex, Miss Mid class, and even Jack form a toolkit that we can all adapt it slowly but sure. So I think that's all for my conclusion and my explanation about my presentation. I think that you can thank you for the listening for my presentation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.